Let's get started. Welcome to today's Inclusive Recruiting Network event, the 4 pillars of LinkedIn success. Thank you all for joining us today. I hope you're all well and ready for this session. Before we start, just to know, this webinar is being recorded, hence please keep your cameras off if you prefer. And feel free to use the chat box to say hello and introduce yourself and maybe what you're hoping to gain from this session. Just a short introduction to myself and Inclusive Recruiting. I'm Halima Latif, the Candidate Network Manager at Inclusive Recruiting. I can recognize some names on this webinar, so I know you know who we are and what we're all about. But if you are new to Inclusive Recruiting, we are an organization that work with progressive organizations that are actively trying to become inclusive in the workplace. I always like to take a moment to just highlight to the audience as to why we are here today. Well, Inclusive Recruiting recognize that the workplace and in particular leadership teams need more representation of diverse talent. Hence, we have created the Inclusive Recruiting Network to bring you events such as this one, resources, and much more support to help you in your career. So all I have to say is watch this space because we have lots lined up for you and lots in the planning. I'm very excited today because we've got the wonderful Mildred Talabi here with us. She will be presenting this session. Mildred is a LinkedIn visibility coach, author of Start Being Visible and founder of Visible Women, which is a global community for women business owners. Before I hand over to Mildred, just some housekeeping. Please keep your microphones on mute. And if you have any questions during the session, please use the chat box during the session and we will answer them in the Q&A section at the end. And I hope you find this session really useful and informative. And that's it from me. Over to you, Mildred.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Halima. Guys, listen, I am gutted that I can see nobody's face but Halima's. I like faces. I like people. Here we go. Here's Vanessa. Good to see you. So if you are comfortable turning on your camera, I would love to see. Look at these beautiful faces. Yogan, Priya, Amelia, Farah. I love it. You guys all look fabulous. You too, Jason, with those headphones. Yes, I see you, Serena. Beautiful. That's what I want to see. I want to see faces because I like to talk to real people, not just names behind cameras, right? So this session, I want you to be involved. I want you to be involved with me. I want you to take you on this journey on what a wonderful platform LinkedIn is. Yvette, Joe, I see you, Dom. Good. Thanks for switching on your cameras. You know, and anybody else who feels comfortable to, please feel free. No pressure at all. Hi, Sophia. Good. But okay, listen. So just to get us started with, and I am going to do a little PowerPoint presentation stuff, but it's not going to bore you to death. That's not my style. I'd rather talk to you as we go through this instead, you know, and I want you to talk back at me. So if at any point you have a question or you don't understand anything that I share about LinkedIn, and I want you to pause and say, hey, Mildred, I have a question. Unmute yourself, put your hand up, however you want to do it. I'm more than happy to take it that way. So it's more like a conversation than just some boring training session that you're going to go through. Okay, so I will start my PowerPoint just to give you an overview of what we're going to cover today, and then I'm going to come straight back at you, and then we're going to go back into the PowerPoint. We kind of dip in and out of both. Does that sound good? Give me a thumbs up if it sounds good. Yeah, who's with me? Okay, good. I see thumbs. I like thumbs. You know, those are good. You know. Okay, so if you can see my screen, just unmute yourself and say, yes, I can, Mildred. So
yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
Okay, awesome,
Yes,
awesome.
Yes, I can.
Right, good.
Yes,
good,
I
good.
can.
Yes, I can.
Good, awesome. I love it. It's working. The tech is working today, peeps. We are winning already, right? Awesome. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the 4 pillars of LinkedIn success. And I'm going to tell you exactly what these 4 pillars are in a second. But just as a general guideline of what we're going to go through today, before I tell you about the 4 pillars, I'm going to tell you about what most people don't know about the opportunities that are available on LinkedIn. Because after today, you're not going to be most people. You are going to know it. So there's no secrets. I'm going to tell you. Then we're going to talk about the 4 pillars of LinkedIn success for your job success, you know, because I know some of you here are actually job hunting and you're looking to move on to that next level in your career. And then we're going to have a time for Q&As at the end. If during the process I haven't covered any of your questions, then I'm going to try my best. We're going to leave some time at the end to go through it. But as I said, as I go through it, if you have questions, I want you to hit me with it as we do that. Does that sound good? Nod at me if it sounds good. Yeah? Okay. All right. Awesome. So before I tell you a little bit more about me and who I am and why on earth I'm sharing this with you, I want to know about you. I want two brave people to unmute themselves one at a time. And I want you to just give us a quick 30-second introduction to tell us who you are, what your current situation is work-wise, and one thing that you'd like to gain from this session. So who's going to go first? Yes, Joe, I love it. Go for it, Joe.
I've offered to do it because I just typed it into the chat, so now I feel as I've got a script. I'm Joe. I'm completely new to inclusive recruiting as an organisation, but I've seen some of your social media posts, so I'm really pleased to meet you today. I'm currently working as a specialist independent consultant, coach and mentor, and I specialise in supporting the champions of children and young people to thrive. I'm also a carer in my spare time. I'm not a digital native. I really struggle to feel comfortable in the social media space. And whilst I think you can learn the technical side of it, I think some of the other barriers, if you're like me, perhaps in your 50s, to really getting to grips with it and knowing what's appropriate and meaningful content is quite difficult. So I'm really interested in what you've got to say today. In addition to that, I'm not sure if I want to carry on being an independent consultant, and I'm not sure if I might want to go back into the workplace in a more corporate setting, which I've done in the past. So those are my two reasons for being here today.
Fantastic. I love it. I love it. Good job, Joe. Thanks for leading the pack on that. You know, the interesting thing about what you said, a lot of my work, as Halima said, I'm a LinkedIn visibility coach, and I work primarily with women who want to start being visible on LinkedIn. Now, a lot of the work before we get to the tactical, the practical, the strategies and how to post and all of that takes place here. You know, overcoming the barriers of being visible in itself, you know, and the challenges that come with that. That's a lot of the early work that I do with my ladies before we then move on to the actual showing up. So I completely understand where you're coming from, Joe. You have to get over the hurdles here, and then it's much easier to get over it in the flesh and actually use the practical tools that you're going to learn today. So thank you for being open and honest with that. Okay, awesome. I was going to say who's next, but I see Farah's hand is up. So I'm guessing that Farah is going to show us and tell us about herself.
Hey, Mildred, I'm going to try. So I'm Farah. I'm currently employed, but we're going through a bit of an org change. And I don't want to sit on the fence. And I really want to just really push myself. I've been trying to move places. It's not really happening. I just feel like I've been static for the last 3 years and I'm not growing. Which is why I've joined your session through a friend, Linda, who's on the session as well, who recommended you guys. And I thought, well, I've created a LinkedIn profile. Don't really know what I'm doing because I've been in the same organisation for the last 15 years, being really comfortable. And I thought, well, if I can learn some tips and tricks from you guys, that would really help me be seen and find the right role for me. So thank you.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Good job, Farah. Awesome. So you've kind of have a presence on LinkedIn, yes, but you haven't done much with it.
Yeah.
All right, good. We're going to get you to the place where you're going to do stuff with it afterwards. So brilliant. Thank you for sharing that, Farah.
That's all right.
You know, I would love to hear from all of you, but I can't because of time. So let's get into what we're going to talk about today. And then, as I said, as we go through and you've got any questions, especially think about your own situation on LinkedIn, just shoot your hand up, drop it in the chat, whatever works for you. And we're going to tackle it because I want you leaving here feeling more confident about LinkedIn and feeling like, yes, you know what, I can use this platform to, you know, to find that next job, to improve my visibility, to build my thought leadership, personal brand, because all of that and more is possible. But okay, let me get to it. Let me share my screen again. And again, if it's working, just tell me, yes, I can see it. Can you see? Yeah. Anybody, can you see my screen? Unmute yourself, please.
Yes,
you can see it. Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, so just a little background. Who is this Mildred person? You know, who's up on your screen like this. I'm going to give you the quickest of background because of time, and I want to get into the meat of why we're here today. But the long story short is I trained as a journalist, and I worked in the media for a while before switching to communications and PR, public relations, because they're all related. But along the way, I always had what I call a side hustle, you know, so I always had a business on the side. And some of you might be in a situation, you dabble in something, you have your 9 to 5 and you have your 5 to 9, you know, as they say. So that was me throughout my entire career for about 12 years plus. And part of that journey is in my side hustle is I've written books. I used to do career coaching type of work, and I've written books around that. And then how I got to doing this LinkedIn thing is that one thing that has been pretty consistent in my entire career, even while I was working, and I had my business, but even while I was working, LinkedIn was the number one place that I used to build my personal brand. You know, and this is super important, super important. And if COVID has taught us anything, it's this, that you have to have an identity beyond your work. You have to build a personal brand, because your personal brand, you can take that from employment to employment, from role to role, and even from work to business. But if you only have an identity online that is just pegged into your work, it kind of limits what you can achieve. And we'll go into personal brand in a minute. But LinkedIn was a platform that I used to build my personal brand, even while I was in employment, you know. And what it does, being visible on LinkedIn on the outside, also had an effect on how my employers perceived me in a positive way. So they would see my stuff on LinkedIn, you know, and they would relate. I had a job, and one of my roles in communication was I came in a youth center, and I came in as a communications manager to kind of manage the media and all of that kind of stuff. But within a few months in a row, the role was changed to also include an employability element to the program, working with young people, because my outside work, I was doing a lot of career stuff in my side hustle. So I basically pitched to them that we can combine these two things. And because I've got these additional skill set, and because they could see from my journey on LinkedIn, etc., how I've been building my brand, that there was something solid here, it was an easy sell. So having a personal brand can help you create a role that you actually want, even if it doesn't exist. So the benefits of being visible on LinkedIn are enormous, and we will talk about that today. And these are just, there's been loads of highlights in my own pathway from using LinkedIn as a platform to build my brand and also to showcase myself, to be visible. And it can absolutely work for you as well. If you want to use it to find your next role, to get promotion within your own organization, to be noticed more for all the stuff that you know and that you've done. Some of you, you've probably got years of experience that nobody knows about. You know, there's probably loads of things that you can share about your industry, you know, that no one knows about. And when you start using a platform like LinkedIn to do that, you can really create a space where that expertise that you've gathered and the skills and all of that actually serves a purpose to help you create the kind of career that you want. So that's why I'm passionate about talking about LinkedIn. They don't pay me for this. I get paid myself. They should, you know, but it is such a great platform to build your personal brand and to reach your career goals and your work goals, whatever that might look like for you. And that's kind of the journey that I've been on over the last 12 plus years in this business. But okay, so let's get into what most people don't know about the opportunities available on LinkedIn. You know, catchy short title, right? You know, so, but here's what most people do not know. So as a platform, LinkedIn as it stands currently has about 740 million plus users worldwide. You know, and is that more or less than you thought? Who thought it was more than this? Just raise your hands, drop it in the chat. Did you think it was more or less? Is that more? Is that a lot of people? What do you think? Not at me, those who've got their cameras on. Is this like, whoa, that's a lot? Is that, yes, that's a lot of people? Yeah, I see some nods. Okay. Like Jason's like, no, it's not a lot of people. Okay, down. Good, Jason, because it sounds, on the one hand, it sounds like a lot, but if you compare it to platforms like Facebook, which have like over 6 billion users, and Instagram, which has about 1 billion plus, then LinkedIn is a small platform, you know, and that is actually a good thing. And the reason it's a good thing is because whereas platforms like Facebook and Instagram are quite saturated, there are loads of people there who are trying to make a presence for themselves, and for whatever reason, LinkedIn has less people. And that's because a lot of people are scared of LinkedIn. They get this into their minds about, okay, this is a professional platform, I have to show up really differently. So they just don't show up at all, so the user numbers are a lot smaller, but there's opportunity in that. Even more than that is that, so you have the 740 million plus registered users. Now on this platform, at least on this platform, 40% of people on this platform have a LinkedIn account, and that's about it. That's about it. They're registered for LinkedIn, probably for work at some point, probably because somebody said to them, you need to be on LinkedIn if you're a professional. So they've set up an account on LinkedIn, and that's it. If that's you, I am not going to ask you to raise your hands and name and shame yourself, but just know that after this session, I don't want that to be you anymore, right? So that's 40% who just let their accounts gather dust, and that's all they do. And then there's another 40% on top of that, which some of you might belong in this group too, who go onto LinkedIn, at least they log in. That's a bit better, right? You log on to LinkedIn, it's a bit better, but you do not do anything else. You don't engage, you don't post content. You scroll through the feeds and you might even like something that someone's put, but you don't reach out and click that react button because for some reason you don't want to be showing up on LinkedIn. If that's you, again, don't name and shame yourself. It's okay, because we're going to work through that in this session. Those group of people are lurkers, so you're lurking on LinkedIn. It's like going to a party and you spend all night standing by the wall. You don't dance, you don't drink, you don't talk to anybody, you don't do anything. You're just standing by the wall. Were you at the party? The answer is no, you were not. You just turned up. That's all you did. You turned up to a location. So if you really want to get in a party on LinkedIn, you have to get involved. And you have to get involved. And that's what these 4 pillars of LinkedIn success we're talking about today is about. So the opportunities that are available for you on LinkedIn, as I've just said, 40% just let their accounts gather dust. Another 40% are lurking on LinkedIn. That leaves just 20% of people who are actually visible and active on LinkedIn. And guess what happens when you become one of those 20%? You get the opportunities. You know how they say the early bird catches the worm? It's kind of, I tried to make it fit with LinkedIn and it just wasn't working, but just use it just think of the idea that if you're part of the 20%, you're going to get the opportunities that comes from being visible on LinkedIn by just you showing up. Okay, so what are those opportunities? What are the advantages of being visible? Number one, as I kind of touched on already, you get to build a personal brand. Now, this brand will follow you beyond your work, beyond whatever job role. I've transitioned careers so many times. I've changed businesses so many times. Like, we are constantly evolving as human beings, and you need to be, or at least we are, but we don't always allow ourselves to, right? That's a different talk altogether. I'll come back and talk about that one, right? But as human beings, as you evolve, you need to have a brand that is fluid, that goes with you. And if you use a platform like LinkedIn to create a personal brand that's just beyond just your identity at work, you can take that brand with you wherever you go, and it can serve you well throughout your career. So that's the first advantage of being visible, is that you get to build your personal brand. Another advantage of being visible, being part of this 20%. And by the way, if you want to be part of this 20%, I want you to drop 20% in the comments. I want you to say, yes, I want to be in the 20%, however you put it, because I want you to declare it, because that's the first step of making it happen. You declare your intention and then you go out and make it happen. So if you want to be part of this 20% who are visible on LinkedIn, drop it in the comments. Yes, I want to be in the 20%, or just write 20%, whatever works for you, but just put it in there for me. Okay, great. I see them coming in. Awesome. So that's good. You guys are making a declaration in front of each other, in front of Halima and the team of Inclusive Recruiting, right? They will hold you accountable. But okay, but when you start being visible on LinkedIn, another advantage is you get to attract employer attention. Now, this can happen externally. There's so many stories of people who have got jobs through LinkedIn, and not just, there's one way of applying for the jobs regularly. You go to LinkedIn Jobs and you apply for a job and you're in competition with 100,000 other people, you know, but then there's also the space where you create your own jobs by actually building a brand and using a brand that's in line with the kind of work that you're looking for and showing up on LinkedIn in line with that message. And as you do and connect with the right people, and we'll talk about those strategies shortly, but you can get to attract employer attention on LinkedIn through your activities. Very possible, very doable, has been done by quite a few people, and it can be done by you, most importantly. Lastly, there are others, but the last one is you get to attract opportunities. You know, sometimes you don't even know what you're capable of until it comes to you. You know, the opportunities are right there. For example, Halima and I connected via LinkedIn. That's how she found out about the work that I do. I don't have it in my bio specifically that I do speaking and training on LinkedIn, even though that I do that. But Halima found me through what I was doing on LinkedIn. And that's an opportunity that I attracted through being visible. So there's opportunities out there for you that's waiting for you the minute you start showing up on LinkedIn. So now that you've made the declaration, the next step is to start the process. And that's what I'm going to give you some tools to help you do in this session. Is this helping anyone so far? Drop a yes in the comments if it's helping you. Is this helping anybody? Or nod at me if your camera is on. Is it helping you? Yes or no? Or should we stop? Should we stop? Okay, I like the thumbs, Jason. I like it. I like it. I see you. I see the notes. Okay, awesome. So these are just some of the advantages of being visible on LinkedIn, just to get you thinking about the opportunities that are available for you as you make the step. Okay, who is ready for the 4 pillars of LinkedIn success? Because we're going to talk about it now, right? What are these pillars? You know, okay, Mildred, get to it already. I'm ready. I'm sold, you know. So how do I actually make this happen? How do I make this happen? I know that's the question you're asking. Right. I'm going to tell you in this session how to make it happen. How do we use LinkedIn in a way that you start being visible in a way that really helps your job opportunities and helps you build this personal brand, thought leadership, all of this good stuff we talked about. I want you to remember this acronym. PACE. Who can see this on their screen? Unmute yourself, please, and shout it back at me. What's this acronym? Come on, I don't have shy people in here. I do not. Come on. I want to hear PACE. Can you please unmute yourself and shout PACE back at me?
PACE.
PACE. PACE.
PACE.
Lovely.
PACE.
Yes. Yes. PACE. If you don't remember anything else I've said in this session, type it in the comments as well in the chat if you want to. If you don't remember anything else I'm going to say today, remember this acronym PACE, because this is going to help you remember what you're going to need to do on LinkedIn to help you build a visible presence to attract all those opportunities we discussed. Okay, so PACE is my acronym for the 4 pillars of LinkedIn success, and they stand for this. The P is for profile. We'll go into all of this in detail shortly. P is for profile. The A is for audience. C is for content. E is for engagement. The PACE formula. When you apply this PACE formula to your LinkedIn use, you are absolutely going to win at this LinkedIn game. And the reason I call them the 4 pillars of LinkedIn success is just like you have a pillar to a building. You need, or like a table with 4 legs, you need all 4 legs working together. If you take one out, you're going to have a wobbly table, you know, and it was not very useful. So if you take 2 out, you just don't have a table. You have a flat something with 2 legs. That's what you have, a wheelbarrow, you know, but you need all 4 of these pillars working together at the same time to help you really build a presence on LinkedIn that supports your goals for your career. So let's get into the first one. Pillar number 1 is your LinkedIn profile. Now, did you know that your LinkedIn profile actually shows up on Google rankings? Who knew that? Priya's nodding, you know, you knew that. Awesome, I can see some nods. So Joe shaking her head. It absolutely does. If you've never done this before, go and type in your name on Google and see what comes up. Go and type in your name, your full name. If you've got a common name, you might have to search quite a bit, you know, to find yourself. But usually your LinkedIn profile is one of the first ones that comes up on the search. So imagine an employer is looking for you because you've applied for a job and they're like, okay, let's go check out Serena. Let's find out more about Mina, you know? So they're gonna go to Google and they will type your name. What's Amelia been up to? And one of the things that will come up is your LinkedIn profile. This is why it's super crucial that you make sure that your LinkedIn profile speaks to who you are and what you're about in a way that's appealing to a potential employer. So that's why we pay attention to this. One of the reasons we pay attention to your profile, it is searchable. Even with all your privacy settings on, at least your headline will pop up. You know, something will pop up. You can see something without being connected with you. So that's important. Profile. Now, when it comes to your profile, there's loads you can do with your profile, but there are 4 key elements, the 4 key areas of your profile that you need to pay huge attention to, because these are like the deal breakers, you know. I'll tell you what those 4 are now. Number 1, your photo. Like it or not, first impressions count, and people will look at your picture and make all kinds of assumptions about you, you know, based on your picture alone. So make sure that the assumptions that they're making about you is a good fit, you know, that your picture actually represents you. Please don't use a picture of you from like 15 years ago when you were just about a teenager. You know, I've seen people do this. I've been in this game a long time. People do this. Or there's some old picture of you, or a picture of you where you're at a party and you've cropped up other people and it's just you in the middle. Kind of, they look awkward. Just try and find a nice clean picture of you looking professional. And when I say professional, people are like, oh, does that mean I have to wear a suit and tie or wear, you know? No, you do not. Whatever professional means to you, and however it's comfortable with your brand, because you have a brand, whether you know it or not, you have a personal brand. We all have it. So get professional, get comfortable, and do a nice picture of yourself that just reflects you, you know. So that's important, to have that picture. So your picture is one of the key elements. Your headline. What are pictures of you in a bar? Is he? Yes. You can have that if you're going for bar work. That may work to your advantage. If you're not, I don't know about that. Okay. So you have your picture. Your headline is important. Now, what do you say about yourself in your headline? A lot of people waste that precious headline space by just writing your job title. You know, customer service assistant. You know, it's like, okay, but that doesn't tell me anything, because if I do customer service assistant, there's like 1,000,001 customer service assistants. What makes you different from everybody else? So you've got about, how many words is it? Less than 50 words. Let's say it's about that much. I can't remember the exact number of your headline off the top of my head anymore, but you've got all the space to write something that speaks to who you are and also speaks to who you want to attract. Use it. Headline is key. The other element, number 3, is your profile, the actual about statement, you know, that you write about yourself. This is where you expand on what you've put on your headline, and you really use this to tell a story about your career journey, where you've been so far, where you want to go, what impact that you've made. So that's what you do in that section. You know, so use that to tell your career story. Don't make it just a copy and paste of your CV. CVs are dull. They're boring in nature. They're meant to be boring and dull. Well, actually, they're not meant to be. They just happen to be that way by default, you know, but your LinkedIn profile does not have to be dull and boring. You can show personality in your LinkedIn profile. You can bring your work to life. You can bring yourself to life, and you should. So that's the 3rd element. And then the final element is your banner. So that's the space at the top of your picture and your headline, that big space. Most people leave it blank, or the default LinkedIn blue banner. That is a waste of space. Consider that banner like your personal billboard. You know, so imagine you had your own billboard in the middle of, I don't know, London, Trafalgar Square, wherever it is, you know, what do you want it to say about you? That's what you want to use that banner for. That's your own personal billboard that you want to use to speak to your potential employer about who you are and what you're about. So those 4 key elements, once you get those right, all the other elements will fall into place. But if you concentrate your attention on those 4 areas on your profile, then you're winning on LinkedIn. Does that sound good? Yeah? Okay, last one on profile, and then I'm going to check in with you to make sure that you're still with me. All-star status. Has anyone ever seen that on their profile, like LinkedIn? Yeah, all-star status. Has anyone reached all-star status on your profile? Not yet. Okay, I see some nods in the comments. Okay, not yet. All right. So yeah, all-star status.
Oh, you've gone on mute, Mildred.
Hello? Hello? What happened? I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so the all-star status is like LinkedIn's way of helping you to figure out what you need to have complete on your profile. So when you've got all the sections complete, you've got your profile, you've got your heading, you've got all of that stuff, you've got your employment history, you've got your recommendations, LinkedIn will award you an all-star profile. Now you're thinking, okay, well, it's just an internal LinkedIn thing. No big deal really. But on the plus side, especially if you're looking for jobs, when you have an all-star status on LinkedIn, LinkedIn search results actually positions you higher than people who don't have it. You know, so if a potential recruiter is looking for somebody, you know, with your particular skill set, and all the people with all-star status, the LinkedIn algorithm will push to the top of the list above other people who don't have it. So it's in your best interest to have an all-star status by completing all the sections. And of course, LinkedIn is a business. It helps them because when you complete all of your stuff, it gives them data about you that they can then use to sell more of their recruitment stuff to recruiters. So it's a win-win for everyone. But that's why that all-star status is important for you if you're looking for jobs, so you can get found more easily in search results. Okay. Now, I hope that makes sense. I need to do a time check because this is only pillar 1. You know, this is only pillar 1, and there's like the other formula to get through. So has anyone got any questions so far on profile? Or any comments, anything that I may not have covered in this section? Joe says apparently I have. What do you have? Tell me, Joe, what do you have?
Well, I've just got my LinkedIn on my phone as we're going through, so I can kind of look at what you're talking about. And I've just looked, and I've got that thing that says All Star, which is news to me. So it's really good to know what that's for. My question was, is the less is more principle best on LinkedIn? Because I think I probably go for too much detail. So you might be about to cover that. I don't know, but be really good to know whether you just should keep it all really short.
Mm-hmm. Is that with your profile or everything?
Well, I suppose it's a general principle, but you've just been talking about profiles, so
yeah, with your profile.
Yeah.
Okay, good question. I would say use as much of it as necessary, as much of the space that's allocated to you as necessary to tell your story. And that's not to just fill the gap and just, okay, let me just write stuff because I just want to fill the space here. But if you actually really tell your story, especially Joe, you said what? Yeah, you're in your 50s and you've had extensive experience in your industry. You've got more than enough in there to be able to fill the entire section. But just be clear, when we're doing this, we want to pull out the things that are relevant to the kind of roles that we want to attract. So your messaging is super important. We don't have time to really go into how to get that messaging right. But if you just think of it, if you just think of, in this profile, I need to be able to communicate who I am, what I've done, and what I can do for the person that's reading. And also always do it from the mindset of the person that's reading the profile, not about you. It has to be like Who is my audience? And this is, we're going to get to that. We're going to race through the next the pay stuff, you know, but who is my audience and what do they need to read on my profile about me that will make them think, yeah, I might want to have a conversation with Joe. So have that in mind. Don't think about you, think about them, and then you'll win in that sense. Okay, does that help? Okay, good. Okay, right, I'm gonna jump back into this and then I'm gonna race because I just seen that time, Halima. I've just seen that time. You know, so we're gonna race through the rest, but I will stop at the end for Q&As. So please forgive me if I go a little bit faster than the rest. I got a bit carried away with the first part of the presentation, right? You know. So, okay, so that's pillar one, which is profile. So the P in PACE is profile. Remember, if you don't remember anything else, remember PACE. PACE. The PACE formula is going to help you win on LinkedIn. Okay, we'll scratch that. So the A in PACE, audience. What is audience? So you need to think about building your audience. And in my book, Start Being Visible, I talk about something called the 60-20-20 principle, which is about when you start building your audience, growing your network on LinkedIn, you want to connect with people, the majority, the 60% that you connect with, you want it to be people in your target audience. So particular type of employers, you know, people who work at, maybe you have a dream list of companies you want to work for, outreach to them daily, you know, to connect with them and bring them into your network. Let that be the core of your effort in terms of who you're connecting with. And then 20% could be other people who are peers in your industry, influencers in your industry, people you can learn from, bounce ideas from, all of that, bounce ideas with, all of that. And then the final 20% is any and everyone. You know, you have that auntie who's discovered LinkedIn and wants to connect with you. You can let them in with that final 20% because you don't know who knows who. You know, so that's the 60-20-20 rough guideline on how you should be building your audience on LinkedIn. Okay, companies versus individuals. So again, if you're job hunting, a lot of companies, unfortunately, are not that good with social media. You know, I used to work in communications for companies, and part of my job was to set them up on places like LinkedIn, you know, so, and a lot of companies are not very good at it as a company. So company pages are worth following, but what you also want to do is connect with the individuals within those companies of the type of companies you want to work with. So HR people, you know, comms, communications people, you can connect with, assistants to the chief exec, all of that. PAs have a lot of power, you know, so that you want to be looking to connect with people within the company as well as the companies themselves as you're building your audience, especially if there are particular organizations that you're targeting. Start building relationships with them. Okay, lastly on audience, connect versus follow. So you may, if you just send a connection request to somebody that you don't know, you know, and they don't know you, more importantly, they will likely deny it. If they're like some HR director, some company that you want to work for, they will likely deny your request. But what you can do is follow them instead. You know, now you just click the follow button on LinkedIn, which is now the default for most people on this creator mode that LinkedIn has done recently. But when you follow them, their content can pop up on your feed if they do post content. So then you can start engaging with them. And that's that's part of the 4 pillars of LinkedIn success we'll cover in a minute. So what you want to do is follow first, build a relationship, you know, through their posts, through commenting on their stuff. Then later on, you can connect, reach out and connect. Then that it reduces the chances of you being rejected. And also when you are connecting, always use a personal message, personalize your connection request. Don't just send a random connection, because most of the time they'll be like, who are you and why should I connect with you? Sorry, no. But when you send a message with it, that helps to ease things a bit. Okay, so that's audience. PACE, PA. Let's move with PACE, Mildred. C. Get it? See what I did there? I love it. Okay, connect. Pillar number 3. The C is content, not connect. Content. Now, this one is big. I could do a whole session on content, but we're not going to, so I will not go too deep into it. But content is important. Unless you post content on LinkedIn yourself, you are pretty much invisible. You are not visible. Content is the way that you get seen, heard, and remembered. It's how you become visible on LinkedIn, because when you start sharing things, remember, you don't want to be part of this 80% on LinkedIn. We don't want to be part of that crowd. We want to be in the 20% crowd who are visible, and they are visible because they post content on LinkedIn and they do all the other things that we talked about. But content is your way to be seen, heard, and remembered. So that's why you should post content, because it allows you to be visible on LinkedIn. You know, so the why is important. There's different types of content you can post. Text-based. Text, LinkedIn is a great platform for text. It works well with text. Text, images, video, long articles, short articles, it all goes, you know, but just showing up on LinkedIn and posting content. Now, as you're easing your way in, and a lot of people do this and think, okay, and you might be sharing other people's content. You might share articles, and just as you're easing your way in, I will only allow you to do this as you ease your way in, and then quickly get over that and start sharing your own stuff. You know, have your opinions, put your opinions out on things, because that's how people get to know who you are and what you're about. You can never build a personal brand based on other people's content. I will tell you that. For now, you cannot build a personal brand. If you want to build any kind of personal brand, you have to stick your neck out, you know, and start offering your opinions and your thoughts. It doesn't have to be controversial, but it has to be yours, you know. So think about that when you're putting out content on LinkedIn. And then lastly, a question I always get is, how often should I post? Now, when I work with my clients, I tell them a minimum 3 times a week for visibility reasons. You know, and I would say the same to you. But if you're somebody who's at a place where you've never posted on LinkedIn before, start with once or twice a week just to ease yourself in, and then look at working up to a place where you're posting at least 3 times a week, you know, because the consistency is how you also build an audience. It's how you put across your personal brand, and it's how you get to engage and connect with people on LinkedIn and at a much faster pace. So you can do 1 a week, but it's going to take you longer. If you want to accelerate the process, aim for like 3 times a week at least. I want to be putting content out on LinkedIn, useful content that's relevant to my field, that helps to position me in a certain way. Can you still hear me? Because I think my AirPods are just dying.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
You can't hear me, can you? Okay, hold on.
No, we can. We can hear you. We can hear you, Mildred.
How about now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We can hear
Yes.
you. She can't hear us.
Yes, she can.
Can you?
I'll sort that out. I have messaged her.
Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? You can. You can hear me.
Yes.
Yes.
My AirPods died on me. Terrible, terrible. See, I had my backup. I have my wired ones, you know. But yeah, okay, so yeah, all right, brilliant. So while we're doing that, while I'm sticking this back in my ear because it helps me to concentrate. So yeah, content, you have to do your content. Can you hear me? You can. Wonderful. We're winning today. We're winning. Okay, let's put this back on. Speakers is my ear. All right, so let me share my screen again and run this up. Okay. So yeah, so that's it. So how often should you post? Post, aim for 3 times a week. Aim for 3 times a week. Work your way up, but let that be the target that you aim for, 3 times a week posting on LinkedIn. Okay, the last of the pillars, and then we'll get to any questions in the time that we have. Engagement. Engagement is the last of the PACE pillars and the formula. So what does it mean to engage? Really what we're talking about when I say engagement is simply you. So here's the thing. There's no point just building a network on LinkedIn and collecting names and not even numbers, just collecting names and people in your network. It's like going to a business event. You know, back in the days when we went to face-to-face events, and like you're just there, you go in a room, you collect everyone's business cards and you do nothing with it. That does not serve you any reason. Or you go to a careers fair and you take all the cards from the employers. Yep, I'm going to take one from your store, and then you do nothing with it. That's not going to help you to build your brand, build your network, get the opportunities you're looking for job-wise. It does nothing. So engagement is where that magic happens, where you go from just being somebody who is sitting on the fence on LinkedIn to actually participating. You're now on the dance floor at this party that you're at. You're on the dance floor having a good time. And engagement is what allows you to do that, because what that means is you're commenting, you're reacting to posts that you like, and you're actually leaving comments on other people's posts. That's how you build relationships with your networks. You know, and when I talk about comments, by the way, good post or nice share, that doesn't count. That is not meaningful comment. You know, I like this. Okay, you like this. Tell us why. You know, go into it, spend that extra 30 seconds actually writing why that post resonated with you, or what you liked about that post, or whatever it is, you know, but that's when you truly start to engage. And then who to engage with is, so again, as we talked about, when you're building your audience strategically and you're looking for those HR people and the hiring managers and whoever it is, and they're putting content out, you want to be engaging with their stuff, so that after a while they'll be like, oh, I see Mahesh all the time on my posts, you know, like that's, yeah, who is this Mahesh person? Let me check him out some more. Or maybe they'll be like, okay, Cynthia comments on our stuff all the time, or Carolyn or Yogan. But you want to make yourself go from being a cold contact, so to speak, to a warm one, where it's like, okay, that name sounds familiar. Then imagine if they had a vacancy that's right up the street of what you do, and you've already been engaging and building relationships online, and then you submit your application with a personal note, maybe they're going to know you more than the other people. So it's a long-term game. I'll tell you this, LinkedIn, using it properly is a long-term game, but it's one that gives you gains for the long term. You know, so it gives you gains for the long term, but it's a long-term game. You have to be in it for the long term. So how to engage in that? So as I said, it's about leaving comments, you know, it's about commenting on posts, it's about commenting on company pages, you know, that are specific to your industry or that you want to get into. You want to leave comments. And remember what I said about all of these PACE formula, the 4 pillars being important, because what will start to happen when you start to engage with people is that they're gonna want to know who you are. So how do we know that on LinkedIn? We click your profile. They're gonna want to go and check you out. So if your profile isn't at up to scratch, and it isn't in a place where it's actually communicating who you are, what you're about, what your brand represents, then you're going to let yourself down. So that's why we want to have all these 4 pillars in place as we move along on LinkedIn in our journey to being visible. So that is the recap. The pace. I made it to the end. Yes. You know, we had to go up pace, but I made it to the end. But yeah, so as I said, remember pace, you know, because that is going to help you: profile, audience, content, and engagement. When you get these 4 pillars right, the 4 pillars of LinkedIn success, you are going to succeed at using this platform to build your profile, to build your brand, and hopefully in the long run to get the employment opportunities that you're looking for. So I can take a breath now. Do we have any questions? While I stop sharing my screen and go back to the main place. Do we have any questions, any takeaways? Who's got a takeaway that they want to share? One thing that you're going to do as a result of what you've heard today, because I like doers, you know, when you do, that's when it really embeds the learning. You know, so who's going to do one thing differently as a result of this session? Let me know. Who's going to be bold and say, okay, okay, I can see it in the comments. You can write in the comments, or you can also mute yourself and show me your face on camera and talk. That's fine. Either one is fine.
Well, we've got Damina who said update my profile by next week. So that's a great start. Well done. Farah says review my profile and fill it in by my take home. We've got Caroline who says going to complete a massive overhaul of my profile.
Good.
Oh, Vanessa's going to Google herself.
Yes.
Absolutely, Caroline. You need to start commenting more on others' posts as well. Yogan's going to revamp and look at 60-20-20, which is great.
I like it.
Do we have any questions in particular of how to create your profile, or Anything that you're not sure about in terms of the profile or the headline of what to write, how to write? Any of those questions, maybe? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question regarding the how you make the profile. I mean, I'll be honest with you, from the until today, I was keep postponing to get my LinkedIn profile. I don't want to shame for that. It's new to me, LinkedIn, but I didn't do my profile. I mean, if you're doing a profile, what sort of information you have to make sure it is there to get into the content side, because it's very important. As you said, the profile is the key part, and that is the where you connecting with other people. And meantime, if you do the pasting, but how you get the profile done in a perfect pattern.
Okay, is that Mahesh? Was that
It
you,
is
Mahesh?
It is
Okay, okay, Mahesh. All right, awesome question. So how do you perfection is a bit hard to achieve. So let's aim for good. Let's aim for good to start with, right? But if you want to, if you want to do that with your profile, so really the key thing when you're writing your profile is to focus on your audience. Who is it that you are writing this profile for? And so if you're, for example, looking for a job in a particular area and you want to position yourself in a particular way, then you have to think of what type of employers do I hope to be reading this profile? And if they are reading my profile, what kind of things can I say to them that will let them know that I am a good fit for the jobs that they're looking to recruit? So that's the first thing, to always think in mind of your audience. And then look at your career and bring out the things that are relevant, because you have the section later on, that's your work experience, where you can go into full detail on everything. But in the profile summary bit, you want to just bring out the key highlights from your career that match where you want to go next. So if, for example, you want to go for, I don't know, top roles in customer service, and in your previous jobs, you've won the best customer service supervisor 50 times, you know, that's the kind of stuff you want to pull from your general info and put right in a summary where it's bang in the face of the person who's reading it. So think about your key achievements, think about who's reading it, your key achievements, and make sure that, and then adds a little something for personality as well, you know, to kind of bring some life to the profile and make you stand out. That's what I would do. Those 3 ingredients will help you. Is that cool, Mahesh? Okay, all right. Great. Is that Ione?
Ione.
Hi,
Mildred. Thank you for today. I have a bit of a different question. I'm in the process of starting a couple of side hustles, but they're quite different to what I actually do for work. What advice would you give to someone like me? Should I have 2 LinkedIn profiles, or is there a way to combine them so that they are all kind of just one?
Okay, awesome question. So without going too deep into what your side hustles are because of time, is never a good idea to have 2 LinkedIn profiles. And in fact, LinkedIn doesn't allow it, you know, on a thing, you know, not legally, you know, so. But, and also because we're building a personal brand around who you are, Ione, we want to keep it all within the one profile. So at some point it's kind of you, and I had to do this for a number of years in my side hustle. So it's like you talk about, this is what I do in my day job, but I also do X, Y, and Z. So you kind of do like depending on what your goal is, a 50-50 split in your summary, or 60-40 split on focusing more on one than the other. You know, okay. So yeah, so there were times in my career I would focus more on my side hustle on my profile, and then there'll be other times it's like I'm looking for a new role job wise. Okay, I'm gonna switch it and focus more on that. So you can combine both on one profile.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
So we've got a question here from Termina. She says, should we proactively pursue recommendations to bolster our profile?
100% yes. So recommendations are gold. They are absolutely gold. And so many people neglect them because recommendations are right there on your profile. And the person that gives them is also visible. You know, I've got like, I don't know, close to 100 recommendations from people that I've worked with in all capacities, you know. So, and it's like, if you make an active effort to ask for the recommendations, they speak on your behalf. Because you can be there all day telling everyone how great you are. But when someone goes in your recommendation and reads other people saying how great you are, that leaves a much better impression. So yes, actively pursue recommendations. Good question.
Great. I think we've got some great sort of takeaways and learnings from the session in the comments. Thank you very much for everyone taking time to sort of comment on that. We've had a few questions already that's been asked, and some that I can see over here about the profile and how to kind of put that together. So I wonder if we could work on that, Mildred, after the session, and maybe when I drop everyone an email after the session, maybe I could give some tips and guides as to how they can kind of create that profile to use in their LinkedIn.
Yeah, okay? I actually have a free like ebook thing that I created. There's my book, but there's like a free ebook about profile creation. I'll send that to you. You can forward to anybody who wants it.
And we've also got another free sort of giveaway at the end of the session, which I'll email to you guys as well. It's about seeing how visible you are. I guess you have to work on being visible first, and then you can see it. So it's a free tool that you can use in a website created by Mildred, and I can share that to you guys, with you guys. But apart from that, I think we're all done with questions. I just want to say a big thank you for Mildred for doing this presentation, and everybody else for joining us. And before we leave, just a reminder, I mean, if you are looking for roles or now or in the future, feel free to drop me an email, halima@inclusiverecruiting.co.uk. Send me your CV and I'd love to have a chat with you. And also go check out the Inclusive Recruiting Network. In fact, the candidate zone page, which is what it's called, on Inclusive Recruiting website, because you can see a list of our future events there. And our next event is on the 10th of November, and it's all about succeeding at interviews. So you can find more information about that on there, and you can register now as well. And like I say, if you've got any questions, if you need any support in your career journey, always happy to help. So drop me an email. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much,
Lovely
everybody.
meeting you.
Thanks so much.